Hello, everyone. Welcome to NCC for Startups End of Program Showcase. My name is Monica Radcliffe, and I'm the Director of Innovation Programs at Plexel. I'm delighted to be joined by the most recent intake of businesses on NCC for Startups program. The innovative companies joining us today are tackling real-world problems in current NCC challenge areas, which include operational technology or protecting SMEs and citizens. And during the showcase, you will hear about what each company is doing within the space. But let me give you a short summary of each one of the four businesses. First, Zorb Security provides cyber protection for business employees who need to access confidential data from outside of the corporate office. Lexverify is an AI-powered assistant that prevents legal and compliance risks on electronic communication in real time. This saves companies time and money, protects their reputation, and provides continuous training to employees. Robo Shadow is a cybersecurity startup aiming to bridge the cyber technology gap for everyone through simple software with advanced functionality that is free or ultra low cost. And finally, the fourth business, Rowden, is working on the wireless fingerprinting of devices to enhance network security. Their business specializes in next-generation government technology provision. Unfortunately, Rowden are not able to join us today in person. However, if you're interested in contacting them, we'll provide their details at the end of the showcase. And if you're interested to learn more about NCC for Startups program, please visit the microsite. We'll put the link in the chat and also be visible at the end of the showcase. We have just added 3 new challenges to the microsite, which focus on infrastructure audits, secure cloud, and secure endpoints. And we are actively scouting for businesses that can address those challenges. So please take a look at the microsite. And if you think you fit into one of those themes, please apply and work with us to make UK more secure. And that's it for my introduction. Now let's hear from the stars of the show, the startups themselves. If you have any questions throughout the showcase, please pop them in the comment box. We'll do our best to answer them at the end of the showcase or answer them in text. So first of all, I'd like to invite to our virtual stage, Dr. Mark Graham, CEO and co-founder of Zorb. Mark, over to you, please.
Monica, thank you very much. Okay. So hi, everybody. I'm Mark. I am the co-founder of Zorb. And we've developed a software subscription service that protects high-value data for professional services organizations when they're outside of the safety zone of the corporate office. So, for example, that could be working from home on an open public network, such as a train, a hotel, maybe in an airport. And today we're looking for professional services organizations, mainly, but not exclusively, but businesses who would like to trial with us and provide us feedback on what we do. So I'd like to give you my takeaway right at the very beginning of this presentation, so that just to get you your kind of frame of mind in the right place. So my question for everybody is, honestly, hand on heart, do you know exactly where your data is going? Now, even if you've outsourced everything to the cloud, I think this question still applies to yourself as well, because I'd say that probably about 95% of the businesses that we talk to who think that they've got everything covered in regards to remote worker security can't truthfully answer that question. Now, if you are one of these 95%, you're the kind of businesses that we're looking to work with to trial our technology. I'd like to introduce you to my friend Mary. Mary is a software developer. She has a company-issued laptop for all of her work. And the company provides a bunch of cyber-issued tools on the laptop to protect her while she's working. Her company are also very big on cyber awareness training. She works from home 3 days a week. Now, according to the stats on that slide that you can see in front of you, 1 in 5 home worker systems will be responsible for a data breach this year. Mary's company that she works for has over 500 employees, with about half of them working from home, even if that's just to pick up emails in the evening. So that means that as many as 50 people at Mary's company could suffer a cyber breach or a data breach this year, just because they're working from home. Now, hopefully these data breaches are going to have no impact on the business whatsoever. But the most likely outcome is that the company probably won't even know they've been breached. Or if they do ever find out about the breach, it's probably going to be several months down the line, by which time it's too late to do anything about it. Now, unfortunately, Mary has had 2 data breach attacks this year. The first one was malware sending business confidential data outside of her VPN, even though her VPN was running. The second attack that she suffered was Mary downloaded a music streaming app onto her work laptop so she could listen to music while she worked. Now, unfortunately, the app had a vulnerability in it which allowed an attacker onto her laptop to steal data while she's working from home. Now, unfortunately for us, both of these examples of home worker cyber attacks leading to data loss are actual real-world attacks that have happened probably in the last year or so. The first one was on an oil business in the US where malware was able to send user data outside of the VPN. Now, this was the first stage of a ransomware attack. The business was advised by the authorities to pay the ransom. The ransom was $4 million US. The second attack was just last month on a password manager business where a hacker was able to get onto a home worker's corporate PC through a vulnerability on a music streaming app that the person had downloaded. And the attacker was able to get away with some of the vault keys for the user passwords. Now, I don't know what damage this has caused, but in terms of money, but I'm sure in terms of reputational damage, this has had a huge issue on the business. So what's been bugging me for a while now is why do these types of attack still occur? Now, people have been working remotely for the past 20 years, and we're still seeing data breaches. So clearly there's something that's not quite right here. Now, if you think about cyber protection tools that somebody might have on their home worker's device, a corporate device issued to the home worker, things such as antivirus, firewalls, endpoint protection, we absolutely need these things. I'm not saying get rid of them. We absolutely need these tools to protect us against ransomware and malware. But if you look at them, these tools mainly protect us against incoming threats. For example, your antivirus looks at malware in a PDF you just downloaded from the internet. And all these tools are relatively easy to bypass. Now, I am by no means a hacker, but I do have the skills to bypass most of these tools. So even with all these tools in place, it is still very hard to protect against what you don't know about. Now, in the home working environment, there are going to be unknown assets. There are going to be a whole bunch of non-business devices on the home network that your home worker is working on. And many businesses cannot afford to scale the necessary protection across the entire home worker estate of maybe several hundred remote workers. Now, you spent a short while in academia whilst I did my PhD, and one of the things I used to teach my students was that cybersecurity is very much about defense in depth, having multiple tools, some of them overlapping in functionality, but if one tool goes down, you've got another tool to cover yourself. And Zorb's very much one of those tools. We run in conjunction with your existing tools. We run in conjunction with firewalls, VPNs, antiviruses, etc. But we do something slightly different. Rather than look at incoming attacks, we focus on outgoing data to ask all outgoing data, where are you going? Or maybe actually more importantly, should you be going to where you are heading to? So I tried to think of an analogy to give you, and the best I could come up with was it's a bit like bribing all the prison guards to turn a blind eye whilst you let prisoners out. Now, the warden only makes their rounds once a week. They made their rounds yesterday on a Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. We've let all the prisoners out. The warden's not going to know the prisoners have escaped until next Tuesday. By then, the prisoners are long gone. And that's where Zorb comes in. We tell you that the prisoners have escaped just now. So our goal at Zorb is to create a platform that allows businesses to see in real time where their data is going to, rather than just pumping it down a cloud connection or a VPN and hoping it's going where we think it should be going. Yeah? So ultimately, we want your teams to work from wherever they want to, safe that they are protected from data theft, exfiltration, data leakage, whatever you want to call it. Now, for your IT and security departments, it's much better for you to utilize your existing team and resources to secure the corporate network and let us worry about your remote workers. The first step towards stopping data exfiltration is that Zorb finds and reports on exposure points on remote staff devices or their networks if you use our hardware version. Now, these are typically the first points of attack, so you can shut these doors before an attacker or malware finds them. We proactively monitor all your outgoing traffic. We'll alert and report on anything that we see that's suspicious, i.e. is going somewhere it shouldn't be. And we also reinforce your company's cyber awareness training by just gently nudging your users when they're doing things like not using a VPN, for example. And of course, you can measure all these things, all these little nudges, so you can see how effective your training is. Cyber Essentials 3 brought in home workers and bring your own device into scope. So we want Zorb to be a price that's available to all businesses, and not exclude SMEs whose data is still the absolute lifeblood of their businesses. And then in this slide, the three images you can see, the first image is our hardware device. Middle image, albeit very redacted, is a screenshot from our software agent. And the final image is a screenshot of one of our help desk dashboards where we're geolocating all the alerts over the past 30 days so you can see where your data is going to, or in this case, shouldn't be going to. Now we're coming to the end of the 12-week program, and for those of people that are thinking about joining the program, I just want to spend a few seconds just going through what we've got from the program. Now, when we joined the program back in January of this year, we had version 1.0 of our product working. We hadn't really started to take this out to market. We might have done a little bit of user testing. Now, this program, the NCC for Startups program, has really helped us with the fundamentals around our messaging, the value of our products, the value proposition, how we articulate this message, and what options we have to take this to market. And we've been able to shape this message and test this with a friendly audience. Now, this is absolute gold dust to us. These are people that want us to help us hone our messages and get them right, as opposed to just jumping straight in with customers, trying to explain what you're doing, and then going, well, I'm not really sure I understand what you're doing. So that's been absolutely fantastic. And it's not just about the messaging. We've made so many contacts on this program that we didn't have before we started. And that includes the alumni, the program alumni, who are a really close bunch of businesses that all want to help each other. So thank you, everybody, for your support. I feel in a considerably better position to take our product forward than I did at the start of the program. So last slide, my call to action. We would love to run as many pilots as we can over the coming months. The slide shows a typical example of a pilot, but clearly we can tweak that to suit your business. So I'm really interested if anybody wants to pilot, collaborate, or maybe even just test our software. My details are there on the slide. Please do reach out to me. The QR code there, it will take you to the Zorb LinkedIn company page, so please do follow us on there. Any questions, please pop them in the chat, and thank you for listening.
Excellent presentation. Thank you very much, Mark. We enjoyed that. Yes, as I mentioned, if you have any questions at all to Mark about Zorb, please pop them in the chat. We'll have a chance to answer them later after all the presentations. And now I would like to invite to stage Chris, the founder and CEO of Lexverify. Chris, over to you.
I'm Chris, founder and CEO of Lexverify, where we're on a mission to make risk prevention as easy as spell checking. If you're familiar with applications like Grammarly, we are similar to Grammarly, but for risk and compliance. You might be wondering why this mission in particular. Well, the answer is simple. If you think about it, the way we communicate has changed. Think about the past 10 years. 10 years ago, we didn't used to have all these different platforms that we use in business nowadays. We didn't have WhatsApp, Zoom, Slack, and so on. Fast forward to today, these have become embedded in almost everything we do on a daily basis. And we've seen this during the pandemic, for example. And it makes sense. We all use them because they're easy, they're great, and they're convenient. But with all this great convenience also comes great potential liability. The problem is that the use of electronic communication by employees exposes them and their organizations to a series of risks that can result in litigation, regulatory fines. These in turn can cause reputation damage, financial loss, and even end up with employees losing their jobs or going to prison in serious circumstances. But what do we mean by risk? Let me tell you a short story. Imagine you work for a large enterprise, you're part of the buying team, and you deal with suppliers. One day, you get a call from a supplier via email, you go back and forth, and you end up saying, yep, happy with that, please go ahead with the order. And the problem is that suppliers comes knocking on your company's doors a couple of months further down the line asking, well, why did you stop ordering from us? We had an agreement in place. And your company goes, no, we checked, there's no contract, thanks very much. And that was it. But that supplier ends up suing your company and winning more than £1 million in damages because that email that you sent was an accidental contract created via email. And that company was Superdrug, that a couple of years ago have lost more than £1 million in supplier damages because someone in their buying team did just that, created a legally binding contract over email without realizing that. Now imagine this person sending that email was you. In fact, it could be any of us because it's that easy to make a mistake nowadays given the huge number of email volumes that we deal with on a daily basis. And this is just an example of things potentially going wrong on email. We've seen many, many other examples, and we've seen this happening time and time and time and time again. Every single example on this slide is related to some form of electronic communication, either being leaked to the press, causing massive reputational damage for the company, or serving as key evidence in a lawsuit or regulatory investigation. And this is why I started Lexverify, to tackle this specific issue. At Lexverify, we built an AI-powered assistant that scans electronic communication, like emails, like instant messages, and can flag potential risks in real time. And the reason that we focus on real-time prevention is threefold, because we see three main benefits. First of all, we help employees prevent risks before they occur, that is, as they're typing and before they hit the send button. So the risk never really materializes. Second, if you think about it, we all have staff handbooks, corporate policies. Some of us do annual compliance training, but we've spoken to tens of industry professionals, and they all said one thing: training is never enough. So we're doing just that. We're bringing compliance training to the source, which is when we all actually engage on a daily basis with colleagues, customers, vendors, and so on, which is when we need it most. And third, think about a company using Lexverify for, say, 5 years. Imagine all the HR grievances, potential lawsuits, regulatory investigations we can help them avoid. It also saves valuable time and money. Lexverify works very intuitively. It's harnessing the same type of behavior that we've all gotten so used to, which is spell checking, hence our mission to make risk prevention as easy as spell checking. And what you see in front of you is known as a reflective user interface because it does just that. It allows users to pause, think, and reflect upon a potential risk being created before they send, in this case, an email. It allows them to stop and think and take corrective action if needed. So it's very simple and intuitive. To date, we've built 7 use cases, 7 solutions, from anti-competitive behavior prevention to accidental contracts prevention, linking to the Superdrug case that I mentioned, discrimination prevention, anti-bribery and corruption compliance, and we have many more in the pipeline. We've come far since when we started in December 2020, going through a series of incubators and accelerators, like the LawTech UK Sandbox, like the Microsoft for Startups. We've also won awards, including from Tech Nation, and raised investment from angels and VCs, including the Legal Tech Fund. And fast forward to today, we're still part of the National Cybersecurity Center for Startups, where we are still exploring opportunities to accelerate our growth and identify new applications for our product. And we're not stopping here. We are ambitious. We have a number of ambitious targets for the next couple of years, which is why we're raising funding currently to accelerate product development and commercialization. Some of our targets include launching on Azure Marketplace this year, but also expanding internationally over the next couple of years. If you're a startup looking to apply to the NCSC for Startups program, here's what our experience looked like. First of all, we had the opportunity to get extensive and valuable feedback on our product from a range of stakeholders, from program mentors, potential clients, potential partners, investors as well. And this enabled us to iterate and further improve aspects of our product. But also something really important for us, we identified new applications for our product in sectors that we haven't considered before. Then we've also been through a series of expert workshops on a range of topics from marketing to comms to fundraising, pitching, tech demos, sales, and so on. So if you've got a gap or want to develop in one of these areas, this program will be for you because it will help you achieve just that. And last but not least, we got significant exposure to the entire NCSE ecosystem, including the one in Cheltenham and the Northwest around Manchester, and got to meet people and stakeholders we wouldn't have met otherwise from, again, potential clients, partners, investors, and so on. So hopefully this gives you an insight into our experience and encourages you to apply for the next cohort. What's next for us? We are looking to run additional pilots as well as partner with organizations. And as I mentioned, we are raising investment to fund our continued growth. If you're a company operating in a highly regulated sector like pharmaceuticals, telecoms, financial services, please get in touch. We are looking to sign up 5 more companies in the next quarter. We made it very easy for companies to pilot with us. It literally takes less than 5 minutes to deploy our product. So please do get in touch if you'd like to find out more. Equally, if you're a systems integrator or consultancy firm or a law firm, we are looking to partner with you. We know that these type of firms have got an established client base and they are very well placed to best understand the needs of their clients. So please do get in touch if you're interested in that. And lastly, as I mentioned, we are raising investment. We're raising £1 million in our seed round to fund and accelerate product development, to meet the demand that we've seen by speaking to potential clients, and also to accelerate commercialization. This is us. This is Lexverify. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks very much. I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Chris. Excellent presentation. And glad to hear that you got so much out of the NCC for Startups program, and good luck with your fundraise. And now we're moving on to the next presentation. So I would like to invite on stage, on our virtual stage, Terry Lewis, founder and CEO of Robo Shadow. Terry, please.
Hi, thank you, Monica. And yes, hi, everyone. My name is Terry Lewis from Robo Shadow, and we aim to completely level the cybersecurity playing field by changing the way the world does vulnerability assessments. So I'm just going to take you through kind of why we built the product and really looking at the problems that we thought that we needed to solve from an industry perspective. So I think we're all enjoying ChatGPT, or some of us, especially those of us who write code, are enjoying ChatGPT. And for those who are, depending if you're watching this on a recording or live, ChatGPT 4 went live today, which is wonderful. However, the problem is that the bad guys are using this similar sort of technology to build more enhanced AI and more enhanced bots, which are effectively making the game of defense a lot more difficult for larger organizations, but specifically for the smaller organizations that have smaller budgets. So within Robo Shadow, what we say is smaller and unfunded organizations often get hit with cybercrime simply because they can't afford a penetration test. And there's a good point here from the Federation of Small Businesses. It's the SMEs that are less able to absorb the costs of cybercrime effectively. So I think looking at the product landscape is another way of framing the problem, which seems to bring it home for people. So on some of the tool sets that are wonderful on the left-hand side here, the problem is they are very expensive and just sometimes just out of reach for the smaller or underfunded organizations. And on the other side, the free applications that are wonderful and are used professionally, they are very complex and just outside of the skill set of often your average MSP, or your average internal IT department. Another problem that we wanted to solve is the fact that testing really needs to be continuous these days. And we're seeing a lot more demand for people wanting continuous testing. So the awareness is getting there. But as we say, this is an excerpt from Forbes. Effectively, 98% of organizations say testing is a top 10 security issue. So the awareness is there, but less than half claim to perform penetration testing continuously. And even worse, 9% claim to test 100% of their attack surface. So there's definitely a bit of a coverage issue that we want to address. So what have we done within Robo Shadow? We will allow anyone on our platform to do an internal or external vulnerability assessment across your entire attack surface every single day if you want to, completely free of charge. That's the main mission statement that we wanted to bring to the world from a Robo Shadow perspective. So I won't do the full product demo, but just to give you a little bit of an insight in the type of tool sets that's available within the platform. So first and foremost is your external attack surface scanner. So this is everything from your office IPs, data centers, cloud, and websites as well. That's also pulling in some external tools like Shodan and using some of the well-known tools like Nmap. We have vulnerability and management across all of the devices in the estate, and soon that's going to be Mac and Linux. We've got a lot of demand for that, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks we will have that available on beta for everyone. MFA compliance across the whole estate. So this is becoming a larger penetration test failure that we're seeing more and more common. Currently, that's in Azure AD 365. Very soon, that's going to be Google Workspaces as well. AV and Windows Defender compliance. That's an oldie but a goodie. That's a common penetration testing failure that we see is across just your antivirus and your Windows Defender compliance in general. You've got the laptop encryption. So we look after and audit encryption across all of the estate, but it's those laptops. If someone gets a bit tipsy and leaves a laptop on a train and it's not encrypted, then that is a trip to the ICO, and quite often they will make you do an announcement and tell your clients. And the all-important reconcile all of your data against your primary user store. At the moment, that's Azure AD and on-prem AD, and again, very soon that's going to be Google Workspaces as well. So just a couple of other bits that we wanted to add. So when we realized that the tech that was really going to help the world was not that complex, a kind of proof of concept that we built was in the form of an Android app. So, and this kind of does an external vulnerability assessment across an attack surface and does an internal scan. And it's very, very popular. If you Google in the Play Store for an IP scanner or a network scanner or a port scanner or something, we're usually one of the top 5 that come up globally. And this has also helped to demonstrate what we think the simplicity of the problem is, but also aids some good organic growth for us as well. We wanted to just show you a little bit of a look to understand who our clients are. It's very much a mixed bag. We're very proud of having not-for-profits, lots of schools, universities all over the world, but we also have some global brands as well. So it very much is a mixed bag, and that's something that we are very, very proud of within the Robo Shadow team. We would also like to give a mention to the NCSC for Startups program and everyone that works on the program. I've told my cohort have heard this a few times, so apologies for those who're hearing it for the 3rd or 4th time. I spent 15 years in investment banking on both the business side and the technology side. And when you spend that amount of time in banking, you do think you know everything there is to know about business in general until you start to build a startup. So right at the point when we realized we were starting to have some knowledge gaps and challenges, we was really lucky to be awarded to be part of the program. And then we got everything that we want in terms of understanding product placement, understanding marketing, value proposition, understanding a bit more about how to secure the technology, just everything in general. So it was perfect timing for us. So we would personally like to thank everyone at the NCSC, the GCHQ, Plexel, Deloitte, and all of the other mentors that have been available within the program. It's been amazing, and the timing for us could not be better. We are now in a situation as we come to the end of the program, we're starting to see that sort of exponential sort of organic growth that sort of startups are really sort of lusting after. And as we understand, that's the starting to get the indication now that we seem to have some form of level of product market fit. So thank you for everyone that's helped us along the way. I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise, Monica, I can hand back to yourself.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Terry. Great presentation. And yes, we're ready for your questions. So for everyone in the audience, please pop them in the chat, and hopefully we'll got time to answer them. But just to kick off the Q&A session, I got a question of my own, so I'd like to bring all of the speakers back on stage, please. Welcome back. And I would like to ask for your key takeaways and highlights of the NCC for Startups program. I know you mentioned about some of them in your presentations, but I'm really here to just hear about the best highlights. So let's start with Mark, please.
Okay, the highlights. certainly talked about it a little bit in the presentation, but I can't stress how fantastic it's been to just get our message and test it with a friendly environment. The worst thing is you sit in front of a customer and you're trying to tell them what you think you do, and the customer's going, I have no idea what you're talking about. We've got something that does this already. But to be able to test this with people that, proper people working proper businesses, and some of them are into IT, some of them are non-technical, so you can just get the right level of communication with them. It's been absolutely gold dust for us. It really has. Alumni, which I've mentioned, is such a tight group, the alumni. They're all very friendly. They all want everyone to be successful. The program's 12 weeks old, or 12 weeks in duration. We're on week 8 or something now, and we're almost coming to the end. But the alumni's there forever, so it's getting in tight with the alumni and staying in contact with these people going forward. So they're only going to help us. And also, I guess I'm going to, not the risk of offending anyone, but Cheltenham, I've been so impressed with the town. I must apologise. I come from East Anglia. I've never ventured this far west before, but Cheltenham's been fantastic. The whole ecosystem: Hub 8, Plexel, NCC, GCHQ, Golden Valley, etc., etc. Cheltenham my eyes have really been opened since I've been here. It's been a thoroughly excellent time. It's just a shame it's almost at the end. I'll go another 12 months. 12 months. Go to 12 months if you want to. I'd do another 12 weeks, certainly. But well worth our while.
Thank you, Mark. But bear in mind, you are always welcome to come and visit us in Cheltenham.
Don't worry.
There'll be plenty of alumni meetups and get-togethers that we'll definitely invite you to come back to. Thank you for that. Chris, what about your highlights?
Yeah, just to echo what Mark said as well, similar to Mark, but if I were to sum up my experience, there's 3 main points. So it was intense, right? So when you're juggling running a business with being on the program, the business doesn't stop while we're on the program. So, there were times when kind of doing this felt really intense, but really important. It was hugely rewarding, because being able to see where we are now compared to where we were in week 1, we've really come a long way and learned a lot. So this has increased our confidence in how we approach things like marketing, communications, tech demos, sales, and so on. So the learning that's happened on the program has been hugely rewarding. And obviously meeting everyone else and learning from each other was super rewarding as well. And something really important for me, I got the chance to meet a lot of great people and make a lot of fantastic new connections, from the other companies of the program with whom, we're really grateful to have shared the experience, to the program mentors, potential clients, everyone we've met on the program. It's been absolutely fantastic. And we know it doesn't end here. We'll continue to build a relationship. And I really, really look forward to staying in touch with everyone.
Us too. And so pleased that you had such a great experience. Thank you for sharing that. What about you, Terry?
I think the guys have actually covered it from my perspective. However, being able to have access to people at the GCHQ has just been absolutely amazing. The guidance that you get from these teams, and it kind of comes at you thick and fast, as kind of Chris suggested, but that guidance is just absolutely amazing. And it's at least that you're getting almost the very best of the best of the best assistance. So that was amazing. Working with the wonders of Adrian Taylor on a daily basis from Deloitte. He's very much had to run, kind of work with us, and from a stewardship perspective, we're pretty different business models, pretty different mindsets in terms of where we're at, just in the whole scale of becoming and sort of growing a startup. So working with Adrian Taylor on a daily basis has been absolutely amazing. And the other one, just off the top of my head, is the cohort. So from Rowden as well, that we're obviously not on the call, but just with that cohort, sort of we're going through this together. And I forget who said it, apologies, where you are, sorry, it was Chris that said where you are at week 1 and how you then, where we are now, we know that we've come through a hell of a lot together, for want of a better expression, and you're kind of doing that together. So you kind of make friends that that you're always going to know for a very long time, and you kind of it's just a joy to do it with other people. And just the bit that I'll echo from what Mark said, it's just Cheltenham. Cheltenham is, people say ecosystems and say that they've got an ecosystem. Cheltenham is absolutely phenomenal in terms of that whole ecosystem that Mark said, Hub 8, and just the whole sort of Cheltenham piece and sign-in. So from that perspective, that was a shock and a wonderful treat as well.
That's great. Thank you, Terry. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you answering these questions. And now we have a couple more questions in the comments box, but they're targeted at specific individuals. So I think I'll just call out. And the first question will be aimed at Mark. We got a question from Emily. Mark, you mentioned a couple of real-world data breaches on home workers in your presentation. Are there some examples of breaches you've seen with Zorb users that you are happy to share?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Emily. Yeah, we've seen quite a few breaches. Clearly, I can't say who they're with, but I can certainly talk to you about what we've seen. And some of these that we've picked up have been missed by other tools. So what have we seen? We've seen, we had one user where their data, we could see their data being actively sent, not just to one, but to two different data centers in somewhere over in Asia. I can't, again, won't be specific, but it was so they hadn't just been breached once, they'd actually been breached twice, which was quite scary. We've seen businesses that run VPNs thinking, yeah, we've ticked that box, all our data safe. We've seen VPN outside, data being sent outside of VPNs as well. In this instance, or in this one instance in particular, I can think of, it was down to config reasons rather than malware, but it's still possible that malware could do this as well. I myself have been one of these. I've been sat in a coffee shop on an open network, and I've seen people physically trying to scan my device whilst being in a coffee shop. Luckily, the Zorb's notified me, and I've been able to turn my device off. But so yeah, I've been victim of an attack myself as a.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, scary. Thank you for answering. Next question will be for Terry. This one came up during your presentation. How are you able to do so much for free?
That's a good question. So we do have some features, advanced features that you pay for. These are cyber hill elements effectively. So once Robo Shadow for free will show you what the problems are, we've got tech that will effectively change configuration, update applications, remove applications, and all of that good stuff, and some other advanced features. So we do have a portion of users on the platform that pay for advanced features, which helps to fund it free for everybody else. But the other trick is probably in the microservices sort of architecture, sort of how it's been built. So it's all on Amazon AWS backbone effectively. So everything that we're taking is sort of micro snippets of data effectively. It doesn't work in complete real time. It's effectively being able to give you an internal and external vulnerability assessment on a daily basis. It's taking micro snippets throughout the day effectively. So we are Amazon and cloud architects by trade as well. So we've just done it, everything the most cleanest and slick that it can be, that allows the paid users can fund the free stuff for everyone else effectively.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. We got a couple more questions, so probably time for a few more, but please do keep them coming. The next question we got for Chris from 8. Question is, how frequently does this type of problem you mentioned happen, and what's the risk exposure?
That's a great question. And to understand that, you need to think of the context of how prevalent electronic communication is in the business world nowadays. I did touch upon this in the presentation. If you think about, again, 10 years ago, it wasn't that prevalent. We used to have email and a few other applications. So most of the conversations tended to take place, face-to-face, offline. But if you think about this, electronic communication platforms touch almost every single aspect of business, and we do use them on a daily basis. So the likelihood of a compliance breach originating on or leaving a trail on electronic communication has increased significantly. If you want some statistics, for example, a quarter of employers have had emails subpoenaed by courts and regulators, and close to a third have fired employees for email misuse. And these are some quite old statistics, right? But imagine with the growth of the volume of electronic communication nowadays, this has become even more of a problem. And one statistic I use frequently is, on average, every single employee sends about 10,000 emails every single year. And it literally takes one to get them or the company into trouble, in terms of a compliance breach. And it's not just email, right? We all use instant messaging applications like Slack, for example. And based on statistics from a few months ago, they're processing something like 1.5 billion messages every single week, which is an enormous volume. And you need to be able to sift through that. And I think on top of everything else, the question is, are companies monitoring for compliance breaches? And we know the ones operating in regulated sectors, they do. But the problem there is they use the state of the art there, as far as we know, is keyword-based monitoring. And the issue with that is, on the one hand, it will skew the results in the reports because keyword-based monitoring has the problem of high rates of false positives. So that isn't that helpful because someone needs to sift through the alerts and really identify what's relevant. And then the second issue, it's really reactive. They get to find out about that post-fact, someone sending an email, and they have to kind of look at the consequences and what they can do. And this is where our solutions come into play really and help to change the narrative. While we can still provide useful insights to businesses, tell them about potential compliance breaches, but it's potential because we can also help them prevent those in real time. It's one thing to react to something that's happened, and another one to get an insight into what could have happened, but also be able to prevent that in real time.
Yeah, very good point. Thank you, Chris. And I can see there's one more question aimed at everyone from MSR. Each of you is seeking pilot opportunities and paths for further maturation. What are the barriers to test and validation, and what approach have you taken so far? And is there a better way? I'll start with you, Mark.
Okay, yeah, thank you, MSR. So yes, absolutely, we are definitely seeking pilot opportunities. What are the barriers to test and validation? Interesting. I think actually one of the barriers to what we're doing is people have a lot of tools in place already, and they think that the tools are covering everything. And as I said in my presentation, even if you've got all these tools in place, they are only really looking at incoming data as opposed to outgoing data in most instances. And what if someone was to get past those tools? So what are the barriers for us to test? So if you were to do a pilot with us, I think we need to understand a kind of a good cross section of your users, first of all. It's not just execs that work from home. Are there sales guys? Are they, so we'd probably pick a percentage of users with you, work out which users we want to test with. And then, this is a software product, so we can very easily, or you can very easily install that on the device. And then between us, yourselves and us, we can monitor what we're seeing. We'd leave that running for 1 or 2 months, however long we wanted to pilot for, and we'd report at the end. We'd sit down at the end and say, look, this is what we've found. Hopefully, we've stopped something that's significant. The challenge for us is, hopefully for you guys, no one's going to steal any of your data. So the challenge for us is actually finding anything that's going on, which I'm sure we will if we look in the right places. So it's reporting the other value around that, tick boxes for cyber essentials and those kind of things. And maybe just the peace of mind for the CEO or for the board that actually everything is okay. And we know it's okay, as opposed to, probably is okay. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but hopefully, hopefully that has done.
Great, thank you, Mark. What about you, Chris, with Lexverify pilot opportunities?
Yeah, that's a good question. It reminded me of a statistic that I've seen recently that is very recent. I think it takes about or 8 to 10 people are nowadays involved in B2B sales. So you will have to speak on average with 8 to 10 people to get our solution through the door. And this is where the program has really helped, really just getting the chance to speak to decision makers and potential buyers straight away. But getting through the door, can take quite a bit of time. There are different gatekeepers and so on. So we know that it can be a very time-consuming process, but also equally due to the nature of our solution, we've had questions around obviously data privacy. So we have to be prepared in terms of being able to give potential clients reassurance that we've done everything we could at our end. And we've done just that. On the one hand, we've taken what we say is an ethical by design approach. So really minimizing data collection to the absolute necessary type of data, and basically saying we're giving you a tool that's going to help you. We don't want to get access or store the content of your emails. We've done it with ethics in mind, with privacy in mind, and have prepared documents to give clients that reassurance that they need and talk them through the process and how the tool works. But also, we made it very easy to deploy. I think I mentioned previously that it literally takes less than 5 minutes to deploy this, and it will become available across the organization. And that gives people that reassurance of, oh, if it's only 5 minutes, let's jump on a call and let's start with a few users. And it helps cut through that usually very long time of getting through the door with a company.
Great, sounds easy. Brilliant. What about you, Terry? What about your barriers to testing validation?
Yeah, we're kind of in the lucky sort of place really, where we're getting user flow and we're able to spend a bit of time with the users doing that iteration step. So we're in that sort of lucky bit where we're sort of getting users in, we're trying new things out there, getting requests, and we're able to send them back betas and work with them from that perspective. So we're already in that sort of continuous sort of iteration flow, which we're really enjoying. And I think from our perspective, it's, you know, for me, it was, if I could rewind time and have a chat with myself maybe a year ago, it would be to try and get to that stage as quick as possible, because you think your product is X until you start giving it to people and they start playing with it, and then they're sort of judging your baby, as it were. But out of the judgments that come, you really find that somewhere in the middle is the truth of the product that they actually want. So we're very fortunate in terms of that, with that level where we're at the moment, to be fair.
That's really good to hear. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for answering this question. I think we have now actually come up to the end of the showcase. So once again, thank you to all of our startups for presenting the solutions. Thank you to our audience for joining in and asking questions. And if you're interested to hear more about any of the businesses we featured here today, please visit their websites. Information will be provided at the end of the showcase. Here we go. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining, and see you next time. Bye.